McLean County had a huge shift to work from home employment during the pandemic, a bigger change than all but two other counties in the state just behind Cook and DuPage counties. That's according to a new study out by the Institute of Government and Public Affairs at the University of Illinois at Chicago. McLean County's work from home grew from about 5% to 25% of the workforce between 2019 and 2021. That's still less than the 40% of jobs in the county that the study said could have a work from home component. Aaliyah Wilbur-Muchtaba co-authored the study. She's a doctoral candidate in public policy management and analytics. In this conversation with WGLT's Charlie Schlenker, Wilbur-Muchtaba says McLean County's big share of finance and insurance sectors jobs mattered.
A lot of it just depends on the type of occupation that is clustered in that county. As much as I hate to say this, a lot of the findings were very intuitive, where you would assume that those that are more able to work from home based on their job characteristics, they're also more likely to shift to being able to work from home. A lot of the work we did was just getting the data from the ACS and comparing it to the wide variety of surveys that had been going on after COVID happened, because there were so many measurements of how someone was working from home, like percent of time, days commuting. So a lot of it was more of establish a base comparison before the pandemic and then after the pandemic, which other surveys hadn't really done. But this one, it's one of the ones that had just a really large shift of the labor force, like 20% of the labor force, but that's going to largely depend on the types of the workers that are living in that area. There are a lot of science, business, management types of occupations. They're just much more likely to be able to shift.
McLean County has a relatively large university with 20,000 students, and it has State Farm Insurance headquarters, a couple other insurance companies. So finance, insurance, education, are all those likely to have work from home?
They're much more likely to have work from home, especially in the higher level positions. If some of those positions were the highest level positions, some of them already had work from home capabilities, but that it does appear that the willingness to allow people to work from home for those kind of jobs that can be done remotely, or interactions can be done through a screen, it looks like the willingness to allow their workers to work from home has expanded since then,
When you compared all the methodologies about deciding work from home, are they congruent largely, even if the numbers are slightly different?
They all have that spike during COVID, like the stay-at-home orders. Everyone spikes and then everyone goes back down gradually over time. That trend is obviously in all the data sources. Some of them have the jump timed a little bit differently depending on if they're measuring how they were getting to work or how frequently they were going to work, or if they were just had the occupation still, since some people did lose their jobs during that time. For our comparison of the data, we were using how they were getting to work as a proxy for if they were physically traveling to work.
McLean County went from about 5% work from home to more than 19%, probably around 20%. But you'd think Sangamon, Champaign, or some of the collar counties like Lake, Kane, and McHenry and Will would exceed the percentage rise, because those are all likely counties to have high percentages of workers who can work from home. Yet McLean County finished third in the state. Why?
We wanted to spend more time diving into that, and also the 2022 data came out from the ACS, but it came out after this report was already in the production line. So we really wanted to pull the data for the next year and compare these counties again, because we did have some lingering questions of, what were the characteristics of the occupations that, why were they an outlier kind of like that, when you would expect the ones that would probably be more filled with commuters to have a larger shift. I wish I had a solid answer for you about why that is. I'm personally really curious what the next year trends look like. What's the new normal? That's what everyone's researching right now.
Insurance industry analysts have suggested that a labor shortage in the insurance industry is driving part of the willingness of companies like State Farm and insurance companies in general to offer hybrid work environments in a way that may not be true of, say, banking. So it's not just, is it IT heavy that makes it possible? It's a competitive marketplace for workforce supply issue, at least for insurance. Did you see that in other ways too across the results in different counties?
Workers got a lot of power during COVID and coming back from COVID with these hybrid capabilities. So yeah, if there's a labor shortage in a specific field, workers have a lot more power now to bargain, to ask for more work from home capabilities. We didn't focus on that in the study, but if there's a shortage of a specific field or skill set, it does make sense that employers are going to be more flexible.
With the retirement of the baby boom generation, are workers going to continue to have the power?
I mean, I sure hope so.
Says the PhD candidate who's about to enter the workforce.
Yeah. I mean, luckily everything I do right now is all data analysis, and I would fall into the category of a lot of working from home. Honestly, productivity probably increased from working from home for a lot of data analysts just because you have your own isolation and flexible schedule. I hope employers would realize what workers can do. Like, they can do their job and balance maybe doing the laundry, while you're doing your job. Like, you can get all the work done and have a little bit more work-life balance in your life. I mean, that's why I want to pull the 2022 data. I want to see what happens to those trends in some of the different occupations. But it's definitely here to stay more than it ever was.
What are some of the other factors that really matter in the shift? We've talked about the type of job, but do other factors matter?
Yeah, so another one that we thought does really matter, and it did matter according to the data, was honestly, could your internet handle your job? And then we tried to dive into if there was multiple people working from home, or if you had kids doing school from home. If you had all these people at the home tapping into the same internet source, if your internet couldn't support multiple video calls or meetings or, if you couldn't support multiple demanding things going on at the same time, odds are one of the people or one of the parents or someone had to go to the location or go somewhere else for other internet that could handle it better. So we did look at access to internet and speed of internet. Speed of internet had kind of mixed results. Some counties reported having slower internet after COVID. I think a lot of people realized just how inadequate their internet access was once they were all really using it for videos and multiple video calls at the same time. I think that made people realize that it was not fast internet.
So the feds define high-speed internet as more than 25 megabytes per second, but most people who have multiple users are going to need more than 100 megabytes per second. How much did the prevalence of that extra high-speed change across the state and for McLean County?
In general, the access to internet increased for the state. I'm hesitant to say one way or the other about the speed of the internet because there was just inconsistent results, and some reported like having slower internet, but I think that's because people became irritated maybe from their speed of the internet that they had.
So why did some counties gain more internet access than others?
We wanted to look into if there was like federal money that went into specific projects in these specific areas, but it'd be a separate paper.
So you already talked about one of the benefits from working from home: lower stress, shorter commute, a better health, ability to multitask, do laundry and work at the same time, less concern about childcare, time and costs, perhaps.
Yes.
Those won't be achievable for people who can't work from home.
Yeah.
So does that confirm the old saw about the haves continuing to have and the have-nots not?
So that was a major concern that we all discussed when we were writing it, was people who might have more resources already are also probably the ones benefiting the most from being able to work from home. Who gained that extra flexibility? Was it the people who really needed it the most? Or was it people who already had some flexibility in their life based on either life situations? It could be income, it could be location, resources, support in different forms.
Aaliyah Wilbur-Muchtabaugh is the lead author of a study on working from home in Illinois, done by the College of Urban Planning and Public Affairs at the University of Illinois, Chicago. Her co-authors are Francis Choi, Cheyenne Hu, and David Merriman. Wilbur-Muchtabaugh spoke with WGLT's Charlie Schlenker.